I'm John Bowden. We're up to part three of our conversation with actor, singer-songwriter Billy Bob Thornton. His partner in the BoxMasters, is JD Andrew, and an exciting new artist named Tasha from Ontario, Canada. Love her music, love her voice more than anything. And her songs are poignant and they're gritty and they're real. And I like so many things about her. In this segment, we talk about, again, mental illness. Billy Bob Thornton is very honest about the fact that he deals with OCD and anxiety, dyslexia, and how he had to deal with that in school. JD Andrew and Tasha share their own stories on Rock History Music. Can I just ask all three of you, and I think it's important for this clip, when did Billy, you mentioned something, because sometimes you have it and you don't know, and it starts creeping in. It's that old, when it's two things. Sometimes sometimes it's, when did I stop doing that thing that worked so well for me? When did I stop? How many months have been? And, or you go into a place where you go, this is not normal. Sometimes it's when you start feeling better, but when did all three of you know you were able to catch it and going, okay, something's going on here? At what age?
I had to go back and look at it. In other words, I didn't remember, when did this start? But I know the obsessive compulsive disorder, I can remember it as early as 11 or 12. And it was when I lived in a kind of an abusive household. So, well, not kind of. And so I remember watching the clock when I was that young. That's my first memory of being aware of doing stuff. I'm sure I did it before that, but I would watch the clock and see how many, let's say I knew when my dad pulled in the driveway. He was like clockwork every day after work. And I would look at the clock and let's say it's 5 till 4 or whatever. And I would say to myself, if I can count to 100 10 times before I hear the car in the driveway, everything will be okay. So that's my earliest memory of actually doing stuff that became much worse over the years. And as a kid, I was a stutterer or a stammerer. And once I knew there were various things that I had, I still do it when I get nervous, but that kind of went away once I started to understand I was a little different than maybe some of the people I was hanging out with. And all of a sudden I thought, well, and it's a weird thing to say, but it was almost like my own thing. I've got my own thing. I own this thing. It may be different and maybe weird or whatever to people, but I started to rely on it, and I guess try to talk myself into thinking I was special because I had some kind of different thing than they did.
Tasha?
Yeah, I mean, I knew around the same age, around 10 or something like that. I knew that I know it always kind of been pointed out to me that I would get very anxious over things, and I would, get very stressed out over simple things, or overthink something, or overplan something, and that was pointed out to me in probably not as kind of a way as maybe it should have been. So I was aware really young something was wrong, but then in my teen years, maybe when I was like 14 or 15, I was suicidal, and nothing, I mean, I had, everybody has their things going on in their life that it impacts them, but I didn't have anything going on that was so outrageous, when you think of what other people, experience and what go through in their life. I had parents fighting a lot. And that's a minor thing compared to some other things, or at least it's easy to say that. And that's when I realized, like, oh, I'm suicidal, and I'm pretty young and I haven't lived a lot of life yet. But it wasn't really until, so that was that. But then when I met my soon to be future husband, and we started dating, it was crazy because it went away, which was weird, and freaky. And it went away for a long time until it came back. Yay. But I just felt like, I don't know. I guess I felt like I had a spot in the world. I felt so understood, and I felt like somebody, had my back. And it just totally changed my own thought process of how I see the world and how I see myself. And it was incredible. And then I kind of relied on that it was now gone. And I had, for whatever reason, outgrown it or figured it out. And it turns out that that was not true. And after a year or so, it came back, and I still have my struggles. Thankfully, it hasn't been quite as consuming as it was before. But things happen in your life, and then it reminds you again, oh yeah, you still have anxiety and depression. Oh yeah, like you still have these things going on in your brain, and you still have to work on them. So I do CBT, like cognitive behavioral therapy. I think it's fantastic, and I truly think that everybody in the whole world should do it, because it's made me so aware of the patterns I do in my life and the way I think about things and how they're toxic for me and how they don't, serve me at all. And I think I think it's fantastic. So that's been my journey.
Okay, I'll ask you about what's coming up for each one of you in a second. I'll wrap it up. But JD, what about you?
Mine, I didn't really know I just felt like everything was normal for the longest time. But, it's like, killing everything with alcohol and cigarettes. Um, but then I did have a work situation where I worked with a person who seemed to try to kill everyone mentally. Like he was a real psychopath, honestly. I think he thrilled himself by seeing how he could mentally break people down. And he wasn't trying to do it to me, but I could see that he was doing it to everyone else around him that we were working with. And it basically caused me to break. And I'd never experienced anything like that. That was I'd worked with a lot of very difficult people, in my career coming up, people that were hard to work for, and I did well at it. But this one person, just caused me to break down, and so that was when it was. It kind of just, like it's like, okay, broke me open, and then it's like the things that I had been dealing with, for years, was like, okay, it's like now we can see kind of what's going on. And I was able to get some medical assistance, and talk with some doctors, and they helped figure, it's like, okay, this is the stuff you're dealing with, and here's how we can work on fixing it. But it really took kind of a traumatic moment for me to have everything just come open and figure out, it's like, okay, this is the problems, and this is how we're going to deal with them. And it was painful, but we got through them. And then thankfully, then it wasn't too long, it was only a year or two after that I met Billy, and we started the band, and I was able to kind of all of a sudden take a different direction in my life, because before I'd just been a recording engineer working with other people, and all of a sudden,
he called you in Billy, you called him in to work on an album, right? Just to basically, is that how it happened?
It was on my fourth major label solo record.
Yeah.
Called
Beautiful Door.
Yeah. And JD came in to finish up. My engineer at the time got this really cushy job that gave him all kind of benefits and stuff like that. And the only benefit I was giving him was staying up till 5 a.m. with me. And
mental health.
Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, JD came in through a mutual friend of ours and just was working as an engineer, finishing up this record with me. But before long, we realized that we thought alike, and we started the band just because we started recording some stuff together. And I think it saved both of us in a lot of ways, because the focus is for 17, 18 years now has been on this band, and it's really a great thing. And by the way, Tasha's song, which is amazing, and we're so proud to have played on it and produced it. If you look at most of our records, about half of them are about mental health in one way or another. So it wasn't our first rodeo in that world. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of how it happened with me and JD. Just you know, kind of like minds, and love
Yeah, I
to.
mean, it makes me think about, I mean, even back on Beautiful Door, it's like Billy had a song called Always Counting. And it's like one of the first songs we worked on. It's like, well, that's, you know, an obvious OCD song. You know, it's just, you know, but then, yeah, every record of ours, you know, Billy is working out, you know, in the lyrics, you know, working out what's going on in his brain. You know, it's like some of them are, you know, a mind on fire, you know, things, you know, it's just nonstop. And I've started calling his condition obsessive creative disorder because, you know, we're writing, you know, every second basically of every day.
Before you guys came on, I was telling Tasha that I loved her version of Britney Spears' Toxic, but you guys redid Shel Silverstein, Sylvia's mother. Like you gave it, come on, I know you can. Come on, Sylvia's mother, I know you can. That's amazing.
Yeah, we kind of upped the tempo on that one. And we actually, it's the only song by someone else that we play live, and we play it a lot of times in our encore. Not every time, but sometimes we play it in the encore. And we were included on that Shel Silverstein record, which was a huge honor, of course, you know. And
that's a whole story in itself with him. The fact that he did all these things.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I interviewed Joel Diamond, who worked with Shel a lot, and Dr. Hook, and half the interview was about Shel. We just took off and stuff. When the video is ready, we'll put the entire video together on our sister station, where we put all our long form videos at Rock History Book. Remember, if you want to donate to the channel, there are links in the description where you can make a PayPal donation. You can also join our Patreon and get early access to our videos. Like our videos, share them on social media, subscribe to the channel, and comment on them as well. I'm John Bowden. This is Rock History Music.